Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Vipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Indian government asks the states to stay alert to handle any situation after Operation Sindoor. Mock drills test emergency preparedness even as Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire across the line of control. Government calls an all-party meet to brief leaders on Operation Sindoor. Opposition parties hail India's strike on terror camps in Pakistan and Pak-occupied J&K. Uncertainty prevails as Putin's order of 3-day ceasefire enters force. Kyiv has dismissed it as theatrics and asked for 30-day truce. Tension escalates between the two Korean peninsula nations after South Korea announces the firing of unidentified ballistic missile off its east coast by North Korea. And US Fed holds the rate steady despite Trump's pressure, flags rising inflation and job market risks, stocks rise in choppy trade. And on to the details now. Government asked states across India to stay alert to handle any situation after Operation Sindoor. Prime Minister Narendra Modi convened a high-level meeting with the Union Cabinet. Political leaders across party lines lauded the Indian Army. Defence Minister said that India exercised its right to respond. Nation celebrated justice done by armed forces under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Once again, India was compelled to exercise its rights to pound rogue terror outfits operating from across the borders, disturbing peace and prosperity time and again. In a powerful message to those who threaten peace, the Indian Armed Forces launched precision strikes at 9 locations, targeting terror infrastructure across the border. This comes in the wake of the barbaric Pahalgam terror attack where 25 Indians and 1 Nepali citizen were martyred. Just hours after Operation Sindoor was initiated, Prime Minister Narendra Modi convened a high-level meeting with the Union Cabinet. The entire cabinet stood united in support of the armed forces and hailed the strike. Prime Minister Modi also briefed President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan on the overnight developments. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh called the operation a demonstration of India's sovereign right and praised the armed forces for their precision, alertness and sensitivity.
भारत की सेना ने सटीकता, सतर्कता और संवेदनशीलता के साथ कार्रवाई की है। हमने जो लक्ष्य तय किए थे, उन्हें ठीक समय तय योजना के अनुसार सटीकता से उन्होंने ध्वस्त किया है और किसी भी नागरिक ठिकाने, सिविलियन पॉपुलेशन को जरा भी प्रभावित न होने देने की संवेदनशीलता भी हमारी सेना ने दिखाई है।
As the operation unfolded, Union Home Minister Amit Shah chaired a crucial meeting with Chief Ministers, DGPs and Chief Secretaries of border states. Leaders across the political spectrum voiced strong support. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar urged the global community to adopt zero tolerance for terrorism.
हमारे दुश्मन देशों को संदेश ले लेना चाहिए कि हम लोगों को उनके चप्पे-चप्पे की खबर है, एक-एक ठिकाने की खबर है और आगे ऐसे और एक्शन लेना होगा तो हम लोग उतनी ही मजबूती से।
The opposition also put politics aside. The Congress party and its leader Rahul Gandhi extended full support to the government and armed forces. MP Asauddin Owaisi also welcomed the decisive action under Operation Sindoor. From grief to justice, families of the Pahalgam victims expressed relief and pride after the strikes. Many call the operation absolutely necessary to deliver a strong message against terrorism.
बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ, उनसे बहुत थैंक यू कहती हूँ कि उन्होंने मेरे पति की मौत का बदला लिया है। जिस तरीके से हमारे पूरे परिवार को उन पे विश्वास था, उन्होंने उसी तरीके से जवाब देके हमारे विश्वास को कायम रखा है।
मोदी साहब ने बदला लिया है। सेना के जवानों को यही मैसेज देना चाहती हूँ कि आगे बढ़ते रहो।
Across cities, towns and villages, citizens stood united. From Delhi to Dibrugarh, slogans of Bharat Mata Ki Jai and Vande Mataram echoed through the streets. India saluted its brave soldiers and celebrated their firm stand against terror.
पहलगाम का जो बदला लिया है इसके लिए मैं बहुत ही धन्यवाद करता हूं प्रधानमंत्री का।
अभी तो कुछ भी नहीं जवाब दिया, हम तो चाहते हैं कि इतना मुंह तोड़ जवाब देना चाहिए कि दुश्मन हमेशा के लिए याद रखे।
15 दिन के अंदर अंदर पाकिस्तान को मुंह तोड़ का जवाब दिया गया है भारतीय सेना ने, और पाकिस्तान को अभी अकल आनी चाहिए।
But even as the dust settled, Pakistan resorted to provocation, violating the ceasefire with artillery fire in Jammu and Kashmir's Bhimber Gully. The Indian Army responded with equal resolve, underscoring that every threat will be met with strength. Operation Sindoor is not just a military operation, it's a message that India will not stay silent in the face of terror. A message of unity, resilience and unwavering resolve. Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
Well, the government has also called an all-party meeting to brief all political parties on Operation Sindoor in Parliament on Thursday. The all-party meet of the government comes a day after the Indian Armed Forces carried out targeted strikes at terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The meeting will be convened to brief the leaders about the strikes that were carried out in the early hours of Wednesday. The coordinated strikes were in response to the April 22nd terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, when a group of terrorists gunned down 26 civilians, including one Nepali citizen. And now Akshay Tongre joins me live from New Delhi. Well, Akshay, India carried out Operation Sindoor and we have been talking about the measured and the non-escalatory strikes. Tell us about the latest developments that have unfolded since yesterday.
Well, since yesterday, let's talk about first at the borders, with Pakistan, the situation that is prevailing at the LOC and the international border. So after Operation Sindoor, it was expected that Pakistan would be retaliating in some way or the other. That exactly happened. Pakistan first initiated a small arms fire and then resorted to artillery shelling on not the military areas specifically, but across the LOC as well as the international border. Now we are talking about Jammu, we are talking about Poonch area and other areas that are adjoining with Pakistani borders. There were relentless artillery shelling that was done by Pakistani military, and many a times the deliberate target were civilian areas, because unlike Pakistan, India doesn't have any terror camps or anything as such. So the retaliation came against civilians because the military was prepared to counter any kind of strikes. So it was shameful to see that not only civilian areas but also religious places such as Gurudwaras were targeted, where several people have gotten injured. In fact, 15 people have been killed since yesterday, since Pakistan opened artillery shelling on civilian areas. One Indian Army soldier was also killed in action, and about 50 people have been injured and have been taken to hospital. Now, this is absolute war crimes that Pakistan has resorted to commit, and the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces are giving a befitting and proportionate response to the Pakistani forces and their firing that had opened since yesterday. So that is at the military front. But talking about internally, we have seen mock drills happening. So that is a preparation for any eventuality. In the last 55 years, ever since 1971 war, this scale of mock drills and war preparations have not taken place. So the entire generation is not aware of these kind of preparatory measures that have to be taken in any kind of war-like situation. That is about the civil infrastructure and preparedness that's going on across the country. And third, let's talk about the question that you raised, Lipakshi, about the political consensus as well as all-party meeting that has been called. So there have been several meetings earlier before the Operation Sindoor was launched with the military leaders, and also there was an all-party meeting that was called earlier by the Prime Minister as well. And now, after the execution of Operation Sindoor, while we are anticipating a retaliation from Pakistan and all preparations are done, so all parties irrespective of ideologies, irrespective of the number of strength, parties have been called for a meeting. All the representatives of different political parties, different ideologies will be there. But what we have seen yesterday is that all political parties did set aside their differences and came together as one, came together for the unity of the country and backed the action by the armed forces. And also after the operation has been executed. Now, this is usually a modus operandi that the government will be briefing different representatives about the operation as well as the preparations that are going on right now and the preparation that state governments and representatives can ensure at their local level to make sure that the country is synchronized when it comes to war efforts as well as preparation for any eventuality. Back to you, Lipakshi.
All right, Akshay. Also, Operation Sindoor established India's new deterrence against Pakistan-sponsored terror. World leaders have also expressed solidarity. What's the broader message against counter-border terrorism?
Well, Operation Sindoor in itself was a broader response, Lipakshi. We have showed that at some point India will start responding. India will start striking Pakistan, and this time while the retaliation was extremely limited, non-escalatory, but if Pakistan continues cross-border terrorism, if it continues these kind of actions against India, then there will be a response. There will be a tit-for-tat reaction. And while yesterday's attack was non-escalatory and proportionate in nature, it can broaden up very soon if Pakistan continues these kind of attacks. So when it comes to deterrence policy, Lipakshi, Pakistani intelligence as well as the military and the terror camps that have been operating, especially from deeper areas such as Bahawalpur, were under the illusion that at max the Indian forces can strike near the LOC and they will not dare escalating the tensions and attack at the international border. For example, Bahawalpur is deep inside Pakistan. It's about 100 kilometers inside the Indian borders. The second point being Muridke is very near Lahore, a major city of Pakistan, and from here Pakistan had been operating several terror camps. They have been hosting several high-profile terrorists, several dreaded terrorists, and have been training and funding them. So that illusion of safety was broken by the Indian Armed Forces when the Air Force entered into the Pakistani airspace, struck and came back safely. So an air superiority was also established. A deterrent was also given by India as far as Pakistan is concerned. So there is now a fear that you cannot hide even at the deepest corners of Pakistan. Balochistan remains restive. Several provinces are in fact already there are civil war-like situations inside Pakistan. Political discontent is already there. So that in itself is a deterrent that India has been able to conduct these precision strikes, and all of this was a military intelligence based operation which was conducted quite successfully for the world to see as well.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for all those details. Well, as part of a nationwide civil defence drill, the Amritsar District Administration resumed blackout measures to ensure public safety and preparedness on Wednesday. Amritsar's District Public Relations Officer asked civilians to take utmost caution. The blackout in Amritsar was part of a nationwide civil defence drill ordered by the Ministry of Home Affairs to check emergency preparedness in case of future threats. The exercise involved scheduled blackouts at key locations across the country. Well, also in the national capital, Delhi, Rashtrapati Bhavan and Vijay Chowk also went dark for the drill. Raj Bhavan in Patna participated too. Well, cities such as Barmer, Gwalior, Surat, Shimla and Patna participated by switching off lights at key buildings and public spaces. Earlier in the day, civil defence drills were conducted in several states, including Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh and Bihar. These drills were meant to assess how local authorities and citizens respond to emergencies. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Well, welcome back. You're watching DD News. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. And moving on, as part of the nationwide civil defense drill, blackout measures, as we told you, have been conducted to ensure public safety and preparedness yesterday. And for more, we have Amritpal Singh joining us. Well, Amrit, how understanding has been the international community if we talk about India's position, as India demonstrated considerable restraint and gave a measured response yesterday to the Pahalgam attack?
It's been a mixed bag of international reactions along expected lines. Though there are countries which have supported the Indian position, notably France and Israel. The other Western democracies basically have condemned the terror attack, the Pahalgam terror attack, and but they've asked for a de-escalation of the situation. You see, what happens is that, Lepakshi, when public statements are issued, they are issued for public consumption. They are issued for, moralistic stands that nations take. The NSA spoke to multiple NSAs, the US NSA, the UK NSA, Dr. Jaishankar spoke with diplomatic advisor to Emmanuel Macron. Russian NSA was spoken to. In fact, there are reports that Chinese NSA was also spoken to. UAE, Saudi were spoken to. Basically, the diplomatic outreach was to explain India's position, that what India has done, and and why India had to do it. That it's a measured response. It was taken. All efforts were made to see that no military installation is hit, which it wasn't. No economic installations were hit. No civilian casualties or collateral damage is there. It was a measured, precision-based and a responsible strike by India against terror outfits and terror camps that exist in Pakistan, and that too because even after 14 days after the Pahalgam terror attack, Pakistan refused to take any action against the terror outfits operating from its soil, and in fact went into a denial mode, calling Pahalgam a false flag operation, while the handlers of the Pahalgam attack were openly and were roaming freely and openly in Pakistan. So India had to hit at these launch pads, at these training centers, at these indoctrination centers, basically the nerve centers of terror and the factories of terror which were operating out of Pakistan's soil, which was essentially the responsibility of Pakistan, which it refused to undertake, and therefore India, keeping its interests and keeping its sovereignty and inflicting a punishment for Pahalgam, for the previous attacks, and also to deter future attacks, because the Foreign Secretary yesterday made it very, very clear while he was addressing the media and through that the larger world, that there was credible intelligence with India that terror outfits were planning further attacks in India. So to deter that, India had to do that. So that position was explained. In private, they understand India's position and they understand what India had to do, but they throw in the general refrain of it not being, it shouldn't escalate into a wider conflict or a regional war, which India has taken care of because it's a non-escalatory step. So the world's reaction is this. Nilipakshi?
Absolutely, India's made a non-escalatory step out there. Thank you, Amrit, for all those details. In fact, meanwhile, all the government and private schools in the border districts of Rajasthan, including Barmer, Bikaner, Sri Ganganagar and Jaisalmer, have declared a holiday until further notification. In Barmer, a border district of India-Pakistan border, holiday has been declared in government and private schools as well. There will be holiday in the schools of Barmer district from Thursday till further orders. Holiday has been declared from all the government and non-government schools, educational institutions, CBSE schools, Anganwadis, madrasas up to class 12th in Barmer district from May 8, 2025 till further orders, and the home common examination to be held from May 8, 2025 is also postponed till further orders. And for more in Rajasthan, we have Lakshay Arya joining us. Well, Lakshay, a high alert has been declared in all border areas of Rajasthan. Tell us the current situation there. Airports in Bikaner and Jodhpur, are they still closed?
Absolutely, the high alert has been declared in the border districts of Rajasthan. In the 1,037-kilometer borderline of Rajasthan, the airway have been sealed right on the ground. The BSF, and right in the air, the Western Command is taking the charge. If I talk about the schools, colleges and the educational institutions, they have been declared a holiday for a government, private and Anganwadis and every type of educational institute. The upcoming exams, the examinations and the competitive exam that was scheduled in these days has also been suspended till the further notice. I will tell you more about the Jodhpur. That right in Jodhpur yesterday, the blackout was conducted, and from 12 to 4, not only in Jodhpur but the several districts of the Rajasthan that comes under the border districts, whether it's about Bardmer, whether it's about Jodhpur or the Jaisalmer, the blackout was conducted from 12 to 4. Right, the BSF and the Western Command is regularly in charging the combat patrolling over the borders. If I talk about the local administration, they are keeping an eye on the fake news and the fake videos that has been circulated by some of the handles from the Pakistan. So the local administration have been instructed to keep a regular eye over the fake news, fake videos, the old videos that has been circulated in populative regarding to the current scenario. Respective to the closure of the schools, a notice has been issued from the district magistrate in the Bardmer from the Tina Dabi regarding the Disaster Management Act 2005, that if any institute or any school or any private institution, whether it's college, school or Anganwadi, is found to be open or regulating its activities during the this period, strict action will be taken against the institution, against the under the National Disaster Management Act 2005. Also, the three major airports of the Rajasthan, the Bikaner Airport, Jodhpur Airport and the Kishangarh Airport has been suspended and suspended all its further operation till the further notice. Also, some of the flights from the Jaipur is also been cancelled regarding to the current situation. The CM Bhajanlal Sharma had the high-level meeting yesterday, and he also instructed the medical department and local administration to keep an eye on the situation and support the Home Ministry. Along while the medical department has been instructed to keep the beds and the blood banks on the reserve mode. Several beds in the districts, in the districts, border districts of the Jaisalmer, Badmer have been kept reserved. The health department is on high alert, the police department is on high alert,
right,
as well as the government employees who will on the leaves has been suspended and they were asked to report to the district headquarters. Absolutely.
All right, Lakshya, we'll keep taking more updates from you throughout the day. Thank you so much for all that information. And an army jawan was martyred after sustaining injuries in artillery shelling by Pakistan in the Poonch sector of Jammu and Kashmir on Wednesday. The White Knight Corps on Wednesday confirmed the supreme sacrifice of Lance Naik Dinesh Kumar of the 5 Field Regiment in a social media post. They also expressed solidarity with the civilians affected by the cross-border attacks. And Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire across the line of control. During the night of 7th and 8th May, Pakistan Army Post resorted to unprovoked fire using small arms and artillery guns across the LOC in areas opposite Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri and Akhnur areas in Jammu and Kashmir. Indian Army responded proportionately. Meanwhile, moments after India's Operation Sindoor, Pakistan started firing, including artillery shelling from posts across the line of control in Poonch district. 12 civilians, including a woman and 3 children, were killed and as many as 41 injured in the fighting. Now, the border district, Poonch, remained the most affected by shelling of Pakistan, where several houses and vehicles have also been damaged. Also, hundreds of residents along the line of control and the international border are being evacuated to safer zones as authorities chalked out countermeasures to safeguard civilians from Pakistani shelling. The official said the district administration has mobilized all its resources to make necessary arrangements for the convenience of people, especially females, so that they do not face any problem at the temporary shelter homes. And we have Shabir Dar joining us from Srinagar and Ankush from Jammu. Well, my first question to you, Shabir, tell us about the latest situation right now at the border, LOC.
Yeah, the border area in LOC is tense, and as we already know, there has been massive firing and the artillery shelling in the sectors like Uri, Tangdar, and the forward areas of Kupwara. So the administration has evacuated the civilians from the forward areas to the separate places. They have been put in the bunkers, and educate arrangements and measures have been put in place by the state government, by the administration, to ensure that there is no casualty of civilians in these areas. The Lieutenant Government Administration and the Chief Minister has directed all the district development commissioners to establish control rooms in the districts, and the round the clock control rooms which will ensure that the people are they are evacuated to the separate places. Second, they are being given all ration and facilities for their safe stay. And there is clear communication to the people, given the fact that we know that after Operation Sindoor, there is every eventuality that the enemy country may make some misadventure, which is going to be a major crisis situation. So to deal with this crisis situation, the government in Jammu and Kashmir has closed the schools in Baramulla, Kupwara and Uri areas. And in the airport, all schools around the Srinagar airport have been closed, and in Aundipura, where there is a army's installation, huge army's installation. So there is a heightened security setup, and heightened efforts are in place to ensure that people are being taken care of in case of any eventuality. And the administration has geared up. The buses has been pressed. They have kept around 2,000 buses in Baramulla ready to in case of the mass evacuation of people from the border villages. So the ambulance services has been put in place. The medical facility, the leaves of the medical staff in government hospitals and dispensaries have been asked to be report to their duties. Their leaves have been cancelled, and all the important these hospitals, on their rooftops, the Red Cross signature has been installed to ensure that these are the hospitals, so that these buildings may not come under enemy's attack in case there is any warlike situation or there is any misadventure by the enemy country.
All right, Shabir. Ankush, I wanted to know how is the situation there at Jammu? What all districts there have been put on alert?
See, after Operation Sindoor, Pakistan is repeatedly trying to provoke India, and Pakistan violates ceasefire along the LOC. And on the night of 7th and 8th of May, Pakistan again violates ceasefire along the LOC in Uri, Kupwara, Baramulla and Akhnur sector. In response, Indian Army retaliated strongly and effectively. If I talk about the border areas, yesterday 12 people have lost their lives and 41 people have been injured so far. But if I talk about the arrangements, the local administration have established camps and lodgements for the people who live nearby the border areas and move them to the safe places. And all the essential arrangements, all the essential services have been ensured by the local administration. There I want to also mention here that the main and major enemy of Jammu and Kashmir at this time is fake information. From yesterday night, the fake information is circulating around the social media, in which many claims made by the social media users, which is one of the major enemy of Jammu and Kashmir right now. If I talk about the further developments, the General Administration of Jammu and Kashmir notified and ordered that not to grant leave to any employee till further orders. On the other hand, 24/7 control rooms also established across Jammu and Kashmir. If I talk about especially Jammu region, 24/7 control rooms established for in any type of emergency. As you can take it as a precautionary measure also. Till now, there is no need of panic. The administration is continuously appealing to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, especially the Jammu region people. There is no need of any panic. There is no need of panic. And also, we have seen blackouts was also observed on the night of Wednesday in Jammu and Kashmir. So the Pakistan is repeatedly trying how to disrupt the peace along the LOC. That is why the nakas and checkpoints were made functional, and any type of attempt by the against the security forces by the enemy, this is ensured by the security forces. On the other hand, if I talk about University of Kashmir, also postponed the examinations of which is scheduled to be held from 8th to 10th of May, and they have cancelled all the examinations. And if I talk about the current situation, the situation is under the control. There is no need of panic. Administration is telling again and again to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, there is no need of panic, and please stay away from the fake news and social media propagandas.
All right, an important point raised out there. Full precautions being taken and there's no need to panic. Thank you so much, both of you, for giving us all that information. And meanwhile, latest video footage of damaged buildings have reiterated India's stand of precision and lethal strike in many terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Destruction was clearly visible at the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke town of Pakistan's Punjab province. Markaz Taiba in the Nangal Shahadan town in Muridke was destroyed in the strikes. Well, the latest satellite images also show the destruction of Muridke city in Pakistan's Punjab province. While another footage of the Bilal Mosque in Muzaffarabad showed the roof and walls of the concrete building crumbled under the impact of strikes and household items scattered on the floor. The Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Pakistani city of Bahawalpur in Punjab province was also reduced to rubble. The facility is linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed founder and terror mastermind Masood Azhar. In fact, soon after the focused strikes on terrorist and terror infrastructure in Pakistan, India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval briefed his counterparts across the world about Operation Sindoor and made it clear that perpetrators of terror have been targeted in this operation without hurting any civilian. World leaders expressed solidarity with India in the fight against terrorism and called for restraint. And moving on, in a major update from Chhattisgarh-Telangana border, 20 Naxals were killed by security forces in an encounter in Bijapur on Wednesday. The encounter under Mission Sankalp was carried out near Karigutta Hills on the Chhattisgarh-Bijapur-Telangana border. Well, the offensive involves as many as 20,000 troops and is led by the CRPF along with units of Chhattisgarh police. A total of 26 Naxals have been killed by security forces till now as part of the biggest operation undertaken this year against left-wing extremists. It is clocked 18 days after it was launched on April 21st from Bijapur district of Chhattisgarh across the border of Telangana. India aims to be Naxal-free by March 31st, 2026. And the University Grants Commission has issued an urgent clarification after a fake public notice began circulating online, falsely claiming that all university examinations across India have been cancelled in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor. The Commission confirmed that no such directive has been issued and described the viral message as completely false and misleading. UGC clarified that the notice is fabricated and advised students to rely only on official UGC sources for updates. All official updates are only on the UGC website and official social media channels of UGC itself. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has proposed a 3-day ceasefire starting Thursday to coincide with Moscow's Victory Day parade on Friday. Ukraine never agreed to the proposal and dismissed it as theatrics and called instead for a 30-day ceasefire. For the past 3 days, Moscow and Kyiv staged aerial attacks, prompting airport closures in Russia. The attacks triggered hours of chaos late on Tuesday and Wednesday with temporary airport closures in Moscow and its surrounding regions. The Kremlin has said Russian forces will honor Putin's order for the duration of the holiday, but will respond immediately if Ukraine launches any fire. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewed his call for a 30-day ceasefire in his evening address on Wednesday.
It is absolutely fair that the Russian sky, the sky of the aggressor, is also uneasy today in a mirror-like way. Ukraine's proposal to cease strikes and establish at least a 30-day ceasefire remains in force. We are not withdrawing this proposal, which could give diplomacy a chance. But from Russia, the world sees no response. No response except for new strikes. This clearly and obviously demonstrates to everyone who the source of the conflict is.
And U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said that Trump administration wanted Russia and Ukraine to agree on some guidelines for talking to each other directly, which would be necessary to end the conflict.
Obviously, the United States is happy to participate in those conversations, but it's very important for the Russians and the Ukrainians to start talking to one another. We think that is the next big step that we would like to take. And why does that matter? The reason it matters is because, again, I mentioned the Russians, but also the Ukrainians have also been sort of, they've put a piece of paper in our hands that says this is what we would need in order to bring this conflict to a successful resolution from our perspective.
Also, North Korea fired at least one unidentified ballistic missile about a week after Pyongyang tested a new destroyer. Pyongyang fired unidentified ballistic missile into the East Sea, which is also known as the Sea of Japan. The launch came about a week after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered Navy vessels to be speedily armed with nuclear weapons as the country conducted its first test firing of a new warship weapon system. Last month, Pyongyang unveiled a 5,000-ton destroyer-class vessel named Chohyon that some analysts said could be equipped with short-range tactical nuclear missiles. And tens of thousands of people took part in a rally on Wednesday in Istanbul to support the city's jailed mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu. The demonstration was one of the biggest in recent weeks and came as the opposition Republican People's Party, or CHP, sought to relaunch its effort for İmamoğlu, who was detained in March. Özgür Özel, CHP leader, addressed the crowd as part of a series of rallies held across the country. He said the party had not been allowed to light up the square, prompting supporters to use the flashlights on their phones, waving them along to songs. İmamoğlu was jailed on March 23rd, pending a hearing on corruption charges that he denies. The arrest could stop İmamoğlu taking part in presidential election scheduled for 2028. And Germany's new government under Chancellor Friedrich Merz has ordered border police to reject undocumented migrants, including asylum seekers. Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt issued the order, saying to ensure that the police can make such pushbacks, adding that exceptions would be made for vulnerable groups, including pregnant women and children. To implement the move, Dobrindt reversed a directive from 2015 at the height of the European migration crisis, when Germany welcomed more than 1 million people, mainly from Syria and Afghanistan. Well, the coalition agreement between Merz's Conservatives and the Social Democrats says the move should be made in coordination with neighboring countries. Before Germany's federal election in February, Merz had promised a crackdown on migration after a spate of violent crimes involving migrants and rising support for the far right. Well, President Donald Trump's recent announcement about contemplating tariffs on foreign-made movies has sent shock waves through the global film industry. More in this report. Trump declared his intentions to impose 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States. The statement left filmmakers from Canada to Australia in disbelief, fearing the potential impact on their industries. France's culture minister has vowed to protect the country's film sector from Trump's threats. France has a robust system of taxes and quotas that supports domestic filmmaking, and officials are determined to defend it. The minister emphasized that Trump's tariffs could ultimately harm the American film industry as well. Amidst all this confusion, the British government says it is in active discussions with US officials.
I can tell the House that we are already in active discussions with the top of the US administration on this subject. We are absolutely clear that the deep ties between the US and UK film industries provide mutual benefits to both countries. Productions are, by their very nature, international partnerships, which are often developed and created across different countries and locations. Indeed, US movies are often multinational precisely because US movies earn far more overseas than they do domestically in the United States of America.
Cameron Bailey, CEO of the Toronto International Film Festival, highlighted the long-standing cultural ties between Canada and the US film industries despite the current tensions.
Well, it's early days. Right now, all we have is a social media post and a lot of speculation. So we don't know what this will really turn into. But what I do know, what we see every year, every day really here at TIFF, is that there is a really tightly integrated cultural union between Canada and the US when it comes to film and TV as well. Hollywood itself has always been, since its very early days, an international industry.
In Latin America, confusion reigned as industry leaders sought clarity on what these tariffs would mean for their work. Argentine producer Axel Kuchwatsky, known for his Oscar-winning film The Secret in Their Eyes, expressed the need to understand the specifics of the proposed measures. Similarly, Mariana Souza, president of the Brazilian Association of Audiovisual Production, raised concerns about how streaming platforms and international collaborations might be impacted. In Colombia, where a significant portion of local film production is tied to international projects, experts warned that such tariffs would undoubtedly have a negative effect. As the situation unfolds, the global film community watches closely, uncertain of the future and the potential consequences of these proposed tariffs. Sujata Lochab for DD India. Well, a thick black smoke emerged from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel in a sign that cardinals had failed to elect a new head of the Catholic Church in their first conclave vote. Tens of thousands of people gathered in St. Peter's Square to await the smoke, which came around 3 hours and 15 minutes after the 133 cardinals were closed in. The prelates will now withdraw to the Santa Marta guest house, where they are staying for the election before starting to vote again on Thursday. Cardinals were called back to Rome following the death of Pope Francis on April 21st after 12 years as head of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. And in business news, the U.S. Federal Reserve held interest rates steady on Wednesday, but said the risks of higher inflation and unemployment had risen. Speaking at a press conference following the Federal Open Market Committee FOMC meeting, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. Powell also noted that trade policy remains a source of uncertainty that affirms the Fed's need to be in a wait-and-see mode.
Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
Well, the Fed's policy rate has been unchanged since December as officials struggle to estimate the impact of President Donald Trump's import tariffs, which have raised the prospect of higher inflation and slower economic growth this year.
The tariff increases announced so far have been significantly larger than anticipated. All of these policies are still evolving, however, and their effects on the economy remain highly uncertain. As economic conditions evolve, we'll continue to determine the appropriate stance of monetary policy based on the incoming data, the outlook, and the balance of risks.
Well, the U.S. stocks advanced on Wednesday in choppy trading after the U.S. interest rates unchanged. Late in the session, stocks rallied as stepmakers jumped after Bloomberg reported President Donald Trump's administration plans to rescind artificial intelligence chip curbs put in place during the Biden administration. After a brief move lower following the statement, stocks reversed course. Trading remained volatile throughout the session. The S&P 500 gained 0.43%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.27%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.70%. While the US dollar held steady against the euro on Thursday following its biggest rise in 2 weeks a day earlier, the dollar was also supported by the prospect of a de-escalation in trade tensions between Washington and Beijing, with investors closely watching for developments ahead of a planned meeting in Switzerland on Saturday. Well, Google parent Alphabet shares fell over 8% after Apple's Eddie Q testified that Google's search traffic on Apple devices declined last month for the first time in over 2 decades. At a pivotal Washington antitrust trial, Apple's Eddie Q revealed Google's search traffic on Apple devices declined for the first time in 22 years, citing rising AI competition from ChatGPT and Perplexity. The statement triggered a Wall Street shakeup, erasing over $170 billion from Google's market value in 1 day. The testimony came during a pivotal trial where District Judge Amit Mehta will determine remedies for Google's previously ruled illegal search monopoly. The case, ongoing since 2020, has exposed Google's practice of paying Apple tens of billions of dollars annually to remain the default search engine on Safari browsers and Apple smartphones. With a 3-week trial set to conclude on Friday, government attorneys urged Judge Mehta to make a Google divest Chrome, arguing its AI capabilities and vast data could further entrench its market dominance and suppress competition. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. In IPL, Punjab Kings will take on Delhi Capitals at the Himachal Pradesh Cricket Association Stadium in Dharamshala on Thursday. The match will be important for both the sides, with the race for the playoffs heating up. PBKs have 1 win more than DC, and a victory would nearly seal the qualification for them. On the other hand, the Delhi Capitals will be looking forward to get back to winning ways. They started the tournament with 4 wins in 4 games, but they lost momentum afterwards, losing 4 in the next 7 matches. An Indian skipper, Rohit Sharma, on Wednesday announced his decision to step aside from Test cricket. The 38-year-old, who was appointed as the captain in the longest format in 2022, led India to the 2023 World Test Championship final against Australia. Rohit's decision to retire comes on the back of a dismissal 5-test series against Australia, where the experienced campaigner only scored 31 runs from 3 tests. More on this report.
India's captain Rohit Sharma called time on his Test career, announcing retirement from red ball cricket with immediate effect, bringing an end to widespread speculation about his future in the format. Taking to his Instagram story, Rohit posted a picture of his Test cap and wrote, "It's been an absolute honor to represent my country in whites. Thank you for all the love and support over the years. I will continue to represent India in the ODI format." The decision comes after poor home series against Bangladesh and New Zealand late last year, and then a horror tour of Australia across December 2024 and January 2025, where he crossed 50 just once and averaged 10.93 from 8 test matches. India won both the tests against Bangladesh, but were swept 3-0 by New Zealand under Rohit's captaincy, and then lost the Border Gavaskar Trophy series in Australia 3-1. Rohit retires with 4,301 runs in 67 test matches, averaging 40.57 despite the poor recent run. He scored 12 centuries and 18 half-centuries over the years, with a best of 212 against South Africa in Ranchi in October 2019. With Rohit's retirement coming up and a little over a month to go for the start of India's 5-test tour of England on June 20, the biggest question for the selectors will be naming the next Test captain. Hitman's retirement now paves the way for a new future leader, with Jasprit Bumrah, KL Rahul, Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant emerging as the front-runners. Sports Desk, DD India.
And on to archery now. The Indian men's and women compound archery teams moved into the finals of the World Cup Stage 2 with commanding performances in Shanghai on Wednesday. The number 1 ranked men's team of Ojas Deotel, Abhishek Verma and Rishabh Yadav defeated Great Britain 239-232 in the quarter-final before overcoming a strong challenge from Denmark 232-231. In the women compound section, top-ranked India comprising Jyoti Surekha Vienam, Madhura Dhaman Gaonkar Sindoor and Chitika Taniparthi defeated Kazakhstan in the quarter-finals before defeating Great Britain in the last four to also seal a title clash with Mexico. Both the gold medal matches against Mexico will take place on Saturday. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.